A lot of responsibility comes with all the notoriety. Um, we we get an opportunity to go play one of the best teams in the country, probably in one of the toughest environments. If you talk about Auburn and Duke, both teams are really good this year. But one thing we have in common is we both play in very intimidating places. Cameron Indoor Stadium is probably the most famous home court advantage in college basketball, and Neville Arena certainly has become that. Um, Duke is they're a very talented team. They're very deep. Um, just looking at the guys, some of the guys that are on their bench were, five-star McDonald All-Americans, going to be great players and just waiting their turn. Um, because the guys that get out there are terrific. And for Duke to be playing this well this early with this young a team is a credit to their coaching staff. John Shire probably gets a lot of credit for how talented they are and how deep they are and what a great recruiter he is and everything. Just I study coaches, I study systems, and what they run is hard to guard. It fits their personnel. They got great counters. He's very creative. They run new actions at the beginning of games, stuff you've never seen, and it all fits. And they hang their hat on the defense. This is the number one defensive team in the country, I think in part because they're so long. They're the tallest team in the country, and they got great length at every position. They have active hands, and they get their arms and hands on a lot of balls. And when we get the ball to our bigs, they'll be poking away at it and reaching in, and they're real handsy and active, and they do a really nice job. I guess the last thing would be the three ball is important to Duke, and they shoot it great at home. They do shoot better at home. This team does, and historically they have. They're making over 13 a game at over 38% at home this year. And so it's really hard to find, much of a weakness when you go at them. So best team we've played so far. Iowa State's awfully good, but Duke is just so deep and so big, so talented, and obviously, without question, the toughest environment that we will play in.
Bruce, rewatching stuff from Maui, I noticed that Janai finished a lot more with his right hand, and he has been this season. Can you talk about how much he's worked on that, trying to be, an equal-handed kind of scorer, and how much better that makes him?
Well, Janai's better over his right shoulder with his left hand, but to be harder to guard, you've got to be able to, score over either shoulder. Dylan Caldwell the same way, better over his left shoulder with his right hand, but Dylan is using his left hand more, and the ability to do that makes you just a tough scout, tougher to cover, and basically you've got to take what the defense gives you, and Janai does a really nice job of offensively of feeling the defense, sealing the defense, and taking what the defense gives him, and obviously he had a phenomenal tournament.
Bruce, you mentioned Duke being number one defensive rating. You guys right now number one offensive rating. How much do you and you mentioned you and Burgo in Maui working well together? How much do you guys kind of relish this opportunity to go against the best in terms of a defense?
Well, I mean, I think we relish the opportunity because it's Duke, it's Cameron Indoor Stadium, it's going to be a nationally televised game. The A team from ESPN, Shulman and Billis will be on site. I mean, it's just and look. A year ago when we had the ACC SEC challenge, Alabama got Clemson and we got Virginia Tech. Arkansas got Duke. Tennessee, I think deservedly got a team like North Carolina. Texas A&M got Virginia. And I think there was some discussion about these matchups, and my reward for raising some attention to the subject was to have to go to Duke. But kind of like when we had the Big 12 challenge, having to go to Baylor when we were pretty. That was a little different in the sense that that was COVID year. We were pretty young. Look, I've never coached there. Iowa played there the year after I took the Southern Indiana job. That was a game I'll never forget because Chris Street was one of his last games before he tragically died as a sophomore at Iowa. And I had recruited Chris, helped recruit him and coached him. And so I didn't get to go to Duke as an assistant. And so, you know what a fan I am of trying to make history. So whether it's the one offense versus the one defense, to me, it's more that we got a chance to, to compete and such a great program, such a great venue.
Henry, Adam, and then Fern.
Bruce, the two-man group of Dylan and Janai has been one of the 5 most effective two-man groups in the country. What to you has just made that duo so effective?
I think it's Janai's versatility offensively, and as a shooter, as a playmaker, and a scorer, and it's both of their versatility defensively. They can both play defensively inside and out, and so it gives us it gives me as a coach great flexibility, and it's one of the things that makes us so effective.
Bruce, you've just talked about the environment. Just in your experience, when you're taking a team into an environment like this, how do you try to handle that in the lead up and prep, whether it's doing things in practice or talking to these players about it? And does preparing for this one, is it any different than preparing for ones in the past?
Yeah, this will be a game that we will work with our crowd noise equipment here in Neville today, so the guys, won't be able to hear me. And that definitely will affect our play calling. So the guys are gonna have to be really sharp, leaving the huddle, knowing what we like, knowing what the breakdowns are, and even being effective with our hand signals and things like that to be able to communicate to the team. So we will definitely work on that today in practice.
Bruce, you've obviously coached against a lot of really good freshmen, coached some really good freshmen. What stands out to you the most about Cooper Flagg and just the challenges he presents?
As motor runs, he's effective offensively and defensively, inside and out. He's got a high basketball IQ. He's got a great love of the game. The difference I think just is like with some teams we go up against, like you maybe were involved in recruiting with some guys. Maybe you didn't get them, maybe you did. The players on Duke's roster, we would love to have been able to be involved with any of them. But so a lot of these guys I don't, just don't know, because they were just the best players in the class and also the great kids. They play the right way and they play, and I just like their practice situations. When they all summer long in the fall, I imagine when they practiced, that's why what I'm impressed with is how good they are this early because as young as they are, and that's because of their depth. They've beaten Arizona at Arizona, and they lost last possession games to Kentucky and Kansas. And so this is they're off to a very impressive start.
Last question, Hulk.
BP, I won't be there tonight. I was going to ask you about. I know you're in the middle of obviously getting ready for Duke, but what does it mean to you for this documentary to be made about the program and all that?
It'll mean a lot when the season's over. It will. I've seen some of it, and there were some really very flattering things in there about our success, about the Auburn family, but it means a lot to me, but not tonight, not today, not this week, not in season. You know what I mean? And people that know me or know coaches, we truly do focus on I'm putting everything, investing everything in this team. Thankful to Auburn and Auburn Sports Properties and the people that put this thing together. It is really, really well done. Really, you couldn't tell the difference watching it from seeing any kind of a anything on ESPN or anything on CBS or anything at the highest level. It's a very, 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 very professionally done, and I don't think I can live up to nearly half of the accolades the way they, portray us. But that said, it's very nice, and I think it's a reflection of being someplace. We're 10 years here in our 11th year, and having been now in the SEC, this being my 17th season, and having been, I guess, at Auburn longer than any other head coach, I suppose it comes along with the territory.